When Sinner plays Alcaraz, it's going to be a 50-50 match. It's going to come down to a few crucial points here and there. This was certainly the case in the 2025 ATP Finals final. I saw an interesting stat today, and it showed that if you count all the points together that these guys have played against each other, and it turns out that they have won an even amount of points, 1,651 points each. So these guys are very even in skill level. And as they continue to get better, the weaknesses that they might have had in the previous years, they're not there anymore. So you could have said in the past that Alcaraz had better feel. I think you can still say that, but you could also say that Alcaraz was better at the net. But Jannik Sinner has gotten a lot better at the net. He was 7 for 8 today at the net. And Sinner's feel was one of the crucial factors in his win today. So let's break down this final and try to understand what happened. So there was a crucial moment for Jannik Sinner at 2-1 because there was an 11-minute break. And prior to this break, Jannik Sinner had served a double fault and it was 40-all. And a lot of players could get affected negatively by an extended break like this. And there was an interesting rule that I didn't know about. And they said that if the break is over 15 minutes, that they get another warm-up. But if it's below 15 minutes, they just get right back into it once the break is over. And the way Jannik Sinner played after this break was incredible because he played a very strong rally from the baseline, had game point, and delivered an ace to even the score at 2-all. You could look at this break in a couple of different ways. Like I said, some players could be affected negatively on their serve when they have to wait this long. But I think in a way this might have actually helped Jannik because he was in a little bit of trouble in this service game and had just served a double fault. So I think this break might have helped Jannik to settle his nerves a little bit. After this break, both players started serving a lot better. But once Sinner held to even the score at 4-all, Alcaraz started touching his hamstring and he did take an injury timeout after holding to go up 5-4. But in the post-match press conference, Alcaraz said that this hamstring injury did not affect him negatively. He felt that his movement was not hindered by this injury. I just want to point this out for all you guys that think Alcaraz lost this match because of an injury. He clearly did not. At this stage of the first set, Alcaraz was playing incredible tennis, and it further proves the point that this injury did not have a negative effect on him. And he was up 6-5. Sinner serving, and at 40-30, Alcaraz played a couple of phenomenal points. He hit a perfect forehand drop shot. On the next point, he came to the net, hit a perfect backhand drop volley, and then knocked off a forehand volley for a winner, and he gave himself set point on Sinner's serve. Now, like I said before, Sinner did not have his best serving day on his first serve. However, he was risking a lot on his second serve. He delivered a 187 kilometers an hour second serve to save set point. And this is a high risk move from Jannik, no doubt about it. But from a tactical standpoint, the way Carlos Alcaraz was playing at this stage of the first set, if Sinner would have given him a kicker, Carlos could have capitalized on that second serve and hit a great return, came to the net, and Sinner would have been in a tremendous amount of trouble. So I do think this was the right strategy for Jannik, but a risky one nevertheless. So it comes down to confidence, whether a player should utilize a strategy like this, risking so much on the second serve. And it is clear that ever since that Beijing tournament, Jannik Sinner has been serving exceptionally well, and he has not been broken in this tournament. So there was a good chance that if he risks his second serve down set point, that he's going to make it, and he did. At 1-all in the tiebreak, Sinner again on his second serve goes for it and delivers a 184 kilometers an hour bomb, goes up 2-1, and he manages to get a mini break on the Alcaraz serve, is up 4-2 in the tiebreak. And on the next point on his own serve, he attempts a forehand drop shot. Now, I've said in previous videos that Sinner has been working a lot on his feel game and that his feel has gotten a lot better. But when I saw that drop shot, I thought maybe Jannik shouldn't have gone for that at this stage of the match because he sailed that forehand dropper a little bit wide and he could have ripped a forehand. But on the very next point, now it's 4-3 Sinner instead of potentially 5-2. Carlos Alcaraz comes to the net and hits a forehand half volley drop shot. And Sinner, from a very defensive position behind the baseline, sprints and very close to the net delivers a very soft touch lob over Alcaraz's head and wins the point. Now Sinner is up 5-4, a mini break, and it has two serves to close out this set. And a brutal rally. Alcaraz is playing very aggressive, comes to the net, and again, Sinner shows off his improved feel and delivers a buttery soft topspin forehand lob that goes perfectly over Alcaraz's head, and Sinner gives himself 2 set points. And a lot of people are pointing out that Sinner didn't serve well in this match, but what you have to take into account is how he served when it mattered the most. And he's up 6-4 and has a set point, and this is where he delivered an absolute blast out wide that was unreturnable, and he won this tiebreak 7-4 and got the first set. So yes, absolutely, Sinner did not have a good serving day, but the decisions that he made on his second serve were exceptional, and the first serve did come out when he needed it the most. Now, having said all this, Jannik Sinner is serving first in the second set, and he loses his serve to 15 and hits 2 double faults. And I think what happened in this match is that the energy in the stadium was so unbelievable, and I think there was a little bit of a relaxation from everyone, including Sinner. So I think the intensity level in Sinner's game just dropped off just a tad, because on that very first point in that game, Alcaraz hit a very aggressive backhand and was up love 15 and pumped himself up, and all of a sudden there was immediate pressure on Sinner, and he was just a little bit flat in this game, and Alcaraz got the break. In the second set, Alcaraz changed his tactics and started playing a lot more aggressive, and this paid off because he was able to hold serve, and it was up 3-2 serving. But it is here where Alcaraz lost focus. Sinner had break point at 30-40. Alcaraz delivers a bomb. Sinner gets fortunate, shanks a return that goes way up high and lands very close to the baseline. Then the next ball, Sinner hits a cross-court forehand that wasn't 100% clean. This ball was very tricky for Alcaraz. It puts him in a defensive position. And then again, Sinner shows off his improved feel and delivers a perfect cross-court forehand drop shot to break back and even the score at 3-all. 30-15, Sinner serving. Alcaraz plays 2 amazing points. He hits a 2-handed backhand return down the line winner off a second serve from Sinner. And then at 30-all, hits a very similar return on the forehand side down the line. Comes in and knocks off the volley. And he has 30-40, break chance to again go up a break in the second set. But this is where I feel if Alcaraz looks back at this match where he didn't take his chance because he didn't play well on the next few points. And it is also true that in this particular game, Sinner had completely lost his serve rhythm and was making some wild mistakes on his first serve. So both players weren't at their best at this particular stage of the second set, but it was Sinner who was able to win the clutch points and prevail. I feel that this particular game was very important in that second set. If Carlos would have broken, this could have been a 3-set battle. In the next few games, both players hold comfortably, and now it's 6-5 Sinner, Alcaraz serving to stay in the match. And I've discussed in previous videos how good of a passer Jannik Sinner is, but one thing that's not often discussed is the shoelace ripper that Jannik hits, where he absolutely blasts the ball central right at the opponent's feet when they come to the net. And Alcaraz was up 15-love in this game, and Sinner gave him a shoelace ripper that even Alcaraz couldn't control. Now, Alcaraz is playing well, goes up 40-30, and if you remember that Alcaraz return that he hit on a Sinner second serve a few games prior, Sinner hits the exact same 2-handed backhand return winner off a Alcaraz kick serve. And now it's deuce. Alcaraz comes in, and Sinner again hits a shoelace ripper that Alcaraz can't control. Now it's match point Sinner. Alcaraz makes his first serve. Sinner gets the return back in play. They get into a big hitting exchange, but eventually Alcaraz sprays a cross-court backhand wide, and Sinner wins his second consecutive ATP Finals. So my takeaway from this final is that I'm further convinced that when these guys play each other, independent of surface, it's going to come down to a few points here and there. Both players had spectacular seasons, and a Sinner Alcaraz final is the best thing tennis has to offer. However, I will say that a few years ago, I made a video where I found a location here close to where I live where I saw a sunken boat. And I thought, you know what? For the topic that I'm discussing today, this is going to be a perfect location because this was back in 2023 when Djokovic destroyed both Alcaraz and Sinner in the semifinal and the final of the ATP Finals. And I thought that the sunken boat was a perfect location for my point in this video, which was that these youngsters need to step up. It can't be possible that Djokovic is dominating them to this extent, winning easily in straight sets, when he's already at the late stage of his career. But something incredible happened that I certainly didn't expect, is that we saw the awakening of Sinner a few weeks later at Davis Cup, because it is here where, in my opinion, Jannik Sinner went up several levels. He played so much better in that Davis Cup final than he had played before, and he was able to win that match against Djokovic, where he was down 3 match points, and that was the beginning of the Sinner that we're seeing today. Of course, he's gotten a lot better since then, but the difference between the Sinner at the ATP Finals in 2023 and the Sinner at Davis Cup in 2023 was, in my opinion, huge. Now, I am not going to go to the sunken boat location because I don't know if the sunken boat is there, but I could still make a video with the sunken boat, which could represent what's happening in the rankings past Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz, because there is a interesting scenario happening where the number 1,000 player, who has a name that I'm not even going to try to pronounce. I've been practicing pronunciations all year, but I'm going to pass on that one. But in any case, the difference in points between the number 1,000 guy and Zverev is smaller than the difference between Zverev and Jannik Sinner. So the discrepancy in level between Sinner and Alcaraz and everybody else on tour is humongous. And of course, these guys are dominating because they're better than everyone else. And even if the competition was better, I still think that these guys would be on top. But I don't foresee anyone being able to challenge Sinner and Alcaraz in 2026. I think we're going to see very similar results. So just like it was time to step up for Sinner and Alcaraz in 2023, it's time for these other guys to step up. Many have. Fritz has been playing phenomenal tennis. Jack Draper has been playing phenomenal tennis. He's been suffering with injuries, unfortunately. Ben Shelton has gotten a lot better, but they need to do more. They need to challenge themselves because there's a danger in admiring the level of Sinner and Alcaraz and being comfortable with being ranked number 3 in the world. And if that happens at a certain point, I do think that people might get a little bit bored with seeing Sinner and Alcaraz in a final. Maybe not in 2026, but how about 2033? If we're seeing final number 25 between Sinner and Alcaraz, I'm not saying it's going to get boring because this is the best thing that tennis has to offer, but you get my point. It's time for these other guys to step up.